Hello everyone, Dad Life here, and today I wanted to share with you the 3 games I most frequently use to introduce new players to VR for the very first time. I am extremely passionate about VR and I love my MetaQuest. And so, with that, I am also very passionate about introducing VR to new players and spreading that love to others. But when trying to do that, it is very important you give thought and choose the right first experience for them. If someone doesn't enjoy their first VR experience, they're not likely to want to try it again for a while at least. So you want to give thought to what games to introduce them to. And even though I did pick out 3 that I'm going to share with you here that I use most often, those aren't the only 3 I use because I always try to give thought to my specific audience and what they are interested in and what games may draw them in. For example, if I wanted to get someone into VR who I know is really into golf, I'm probably going to show them a game called Golf Plus. That is a simulation golf game that is very realistic and it's a great game that if they're a golfer, they might buy a MetaQuest simply just to play that one game. It might hook them to get the MetaQuest just off of that experience. But if they're not a golfer, I would not in a million years choose that as the very first game I would show them in VR. So you get the point. You kind of want to give thought to your audience and choose something that is going to draw them in. But one principle I always use is I want to choose something, regardless of their interests, that is easy and accessible and intuitive to jump in and have fun with pretty much right away. You want to eliminate any games that have a learning curve or could be disorienting at first. You want it to be something they can jump in and have fun with very low barrier to entry. So, with that in mind, let me share the 3 games I use most often to introduce VR to others. The first one is a game called Cues. 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 Now, this one I love to use because it really showcases the MetaQuest 3 and the MetaQuest 3S mixed reality feature and how amazing that feature is. In Cues, basically, it fills your room with these cubes that when you touch them, make musical notes. On top of that, bouncing around the room is an orb, a glowing ball that's kind of just bouncing around and shooting around the room. And if you're not familiar with mixed reality, when I say your room, I literally mean your room. So you have the headset on, but you are seeing your actual play area. So if you're playing in your living room, you are actually seeing your living room, and all of these cubes are located around that space. So you're actually walking around your home or wherever you're playing at and interacting with these things. Another cool thing with Cues is it uses hand tracking. Another cool thing to show off to people who are new to MetaQuest or to VR in general that some games you don't even need controllers. And Cues is a great example of that. You literally can walk up to these cubes and grab them with your hands and interact with them. When the orb is coming by, you can smack it and see it bounce just by using your actual physical hand. You could try to catch the orb. It's really cool. And for someone who's never experienced something like that, it is a really magical experience. I have not seen anyone who I've had try this game not be immediately impressed by it. Now, what I just described is what's called the free play mode of Cues. It also does have a puzzle mode where it kind of has these smaller cubes confined to a smaller area and you're trying to bounce the orb to break all the boxes. That mode is fine. I prefer the free play mode as just kind of a showcase of mixed reality of what it's capable of, and it does that job perfectly. One note with Cues is this isn't a deep game. This isn't a game you're going to spend hours in or keep coming back to over and over. It kind of is just a tech demo, but it's a really, really impressive one. And it's free. It's a free game, so you're not going to worry about how often you're going to come back and replay it because you're going to have it on your Quest for those times when you really want to show it off. So I highly, highly recommend Q's. And it's not just for newcomers. If you haven't played it, even if you're a VR veteran, it's a really cool experience to jump in and try it at least once. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Next on my list, number 2 is a game called Action Hero. This is a relatively new game for the MetaQuest, and it is a really good example of an action game that is accessible for new players. This game is built off of the foundation of a classic older VR game that would be on this list if it wasn't for Action Hero kind of replacing it, and that is a game called Superhot. You may have heard of that one. Action Hero's gameplay is pretty much identical to Superhot. So if you've played Superhot, you know exactly what you're getting with Action Hero. But for those of you who haven't played Superhot or Action Hero, basically the key mechanic of the game is everything in the world is frozen until you move. So as long as you are staying still, everything around you is still. The moment you start moving, the enemies in the world and everything around you starts moving as well. And in Action Hero, you are playing an action hero in a movie. So each level drops you into a scene of that movie and you have a certain objective. Normally it's to eliminate a certain amount of bad guys in the scene. You have different weapons and things at your disposal to do that as quick and easily as possible. But again, the trick is figuring out what move you're going to do. So you kind of sit there for a second still, so everything's frozen. You see, okay, there's a gun over here, there's a baseball bat here, a wrench here, whatever it might be on that level, and you just start moving. And then if you get stuck, you can kind of freeze, and everything will freeze around you, and then you can kind of reconfigure what you're going to do. But whenever you're moving, the bad guys are trying to get you too, so you're also dodging bullets or dodging their punches. It is really, really, really fun. And the thing I think that makes this such a good game to introduce to new players is it feels cool. It makes you feel powerful and cool when you play this. You can pull off some really cool combos and moves that are just super satisfying. But with that, it's also very accessible. It's pretty intuitive of how you play. None of the weapons have complicated reloading mechanisms or anything. You can even literally just punch the bad guys when they come. It's very intuitive. And also because of the kind of freeze and stop mechanic, in my experience, it doesn't trigger motion sickness with anyone. So it's also a good way to show off an action game without worry of maybe making someone new to VR feel motion sick. So I highly, highly recommend Action Hero if you haven't played it. And also Superhot, I still would highly recommend that one if you're more drawn to that art style or setting. Superhot's great. I choose Action Hero just because I kind of like the look of it a little better. But either one is a great, great choice. One cool note with Action Hero is it's not free like Q's is, but it has a free trial. So go on, get the free trial, give it a try, see if you like it. But it is a really cool game that I think is good to introduce new players to and get them hooked on VR. They can immediately get that cool feeling you get from doing something in VR. Number 3 on my list, again, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit and have 2 games here, kind of like I did with Action Hero and Superhot. This is in the music and rhythm genre. The first one is one almost everybody who has played VR has heard of, one of the most famous MetaQuest games, Beat Saber. I'm not going to talk a lot about that one, but just because it's a well-known classic game doesn't mean it's not still one of the best ways to introduce people to VR and get them hooked. If you haven't seen it, it's a music game where a song is playing, boxes are coming towards you, and you have 2 lightsabers, and you're hitting those boxes in rhythm with the song. Again, it's a game that you feel really cool playing. You feel super cool when you're playing it. Watching someone play it, you realize you don't look as cool as you think you do when playing it, but it's still a really, really fun game. Intuitive, easy to pick up. Highly recommend it to introduce new players to VR. But a good alternative to that, if you just want a different game from Beat Saber because you've been there, done that, you want something different, Or if you're a MetaQuest Plus subscriber, currently you can get Synth Rider for free. Synth Rider. This is, again, a music and rhythm game. Similar setup to Beat Saber, where these orbs are coming towards you as you play, but instead of having lightsabers, you're kind of punching the different orbs depending on what color they are, and then some of the orbs will have like a string or a path connected to it, and when you punch it, you'll have to kind of match your arm to move in the motion with that. Very, very fun game. Honestly, I kind of put it and Beat Saber pretty equal in which one I like more. They're both really, really good games. The advantage with Synth Rider is if you're a MetaQuest Plus subscriber, it is free and included in the catalog. But both games are very good to show new players. They're very accessible, easy to pick up, and addictive. You kind of want to keep playing to try and get a better score. Synth Rider also can show off mixed reality. It has a mixed reality mode, which is pretty cool, where it busts open like a portal in your wall, and the track of the balls will come through the wall. Very, very cool to show off mixed reality that way too. But either way, you can't go wrong with Beat Saber or Synth Rider. Both of those for the music and rhythm genre are great choices to introduce people to VR. So those are my 3 most frequently used games. As I mentioned, though, you kind of want to make sure you're giving thought to what is going to be of most interest to your audience, who you're introducing VR to. But hopefully those games give you an idea and a good place to start when trying to get people to join the VR family and jump in and start playing. Please like and subscribe to the channel here. We really appreciate your support, and stay tuned for more VR content in the future. Until next time, though, happy gaming. Take care.